Are you ready to slosh through the muck with me? You better be, because we're talking about Remnant 2. And if you haven't sloshed through muck, this game will have you sloshing, baby. Sloshing all the way through that muck. Now, if you don't know what the Remnant series is, the first game came out a few years ago. It was kind of a sleeper hit. A lot of the Souls community was talking about it. It's Elden Ring, or not Elden Ring, it's a fucking Dark Souls with guns. And I was like, okay, I like guns. Guns are fun. I mean, the Souls games are kind of fun. I love Elden Ring. I'm going to play this game. And I didn't get very far. I don't even think I got to the first boss fight because before I was turning that shit off and moving on to something else. But then this game came out and the ripples across the Souls community and the ripples across Twitter and Instagram and whatever the other apps are. I don't know. There's like 87,000 of them, Twitter. And it just like sent these ripples and people were talking about it. People were seething over this game. They were begging for it to be to have it, to play it, to do it, because it was just like it was standing over top of them, being like a full dom, BDSM style, just slapping across people's faces with a strap-on dildo. And I was like, okay, maybe this game's hype. So I jumped into it, and damn, is this game hype. I mean, it starts you right away. You're getting attacked by the demon dogs from fucking, what was that show, Stranger Things? Yeah, Stranger Things, the game, the show about all those nerds that actually have to fight like real monsters, but really the chick does all the fighting. I don't know, it's pretty good. But this game kind of grabbed me right away. It reached into my boxers, grabbed my cojones by the little hairy balls, and pulled hard, and I was like, woohoo! I'm ready to play it. I'm ready to play it good. And of course, right away when I have character creation, what am I doing? I'm making a chick. I'm making a chick because I don't want to stare at man ass. And if you know anything about me or my channel, you know I don't like staring at man ass. It's just not my thing. And so I decked out this character only to find out that you really can't look at her ass because they're always wearing like so many coats and like a backpack. So it wouldn't have mattered. I mean, by the end of this game, I end up looking like a gunslinger anyway. Spoilers! But yeah, you jump in and you get like mobbed by these people, and this little Asian chick with superpowers shows up and she's like, hey, mother trucker, what's up? I've been chilling here. I found you. We gotta get out of here. And I was like, whoa, she just paused time and shit. She's 11. It is Stranger Things, but 11 grew up and became Asian. Grew up and became an Asian. Now she's good at math. Ooh, that was racist. Retract that joke. Scratch it from the record. But yeah, you get right into this first boss fight pretty quick. Now, this isn't like that hard. This is a tutorial boss fight, so it's kind of a sleeper. It's harder than most Souls tutorial boss fights because most of them are just kind of a joke walkthrough. This was kind of a fun boss fight, and you kind of get the feel for the guns and stuff because this game, first and foremost, is a shooter. And right away, it tries to like establish that because you have melee weapons, and they're the one that whatever class you pick, it's going to be pretty decent. I've seen people run this whole game just doing melee. You are a psychopath. Get a fucking life, coming from the guy making YouTube videos about video games who he plays way too much of. But yeah, but the shooting is crisp in this game. The last game I felt like it was kind of clunky. It sufficed, but this game was like good third-person shooting. I was impressed by the shooting in this game from start to finish. I was enjoying it. And right away, even with the starting weapons, which are basically like a pus-riddled spaz fuck of a shit, they don't do any damage once you get into like the actual worlds. They kind of suck, but they still feel good, which is weird for a gun that doesn't do that much damage, and it feels kind of grindy. And when the story starts kicking off in this game, because you get to the little hub, and then all of a sudden you're turning on this crystal with the old man, and then the Asian chick just gets fucking sucked into it. She's getting sucked off. I mean, it's like Lil Wayne said, eat that pussy like shrimp fried rice. She gets pulled into that crystal. And obviously, me being a profoundly powerful woman, I have to go after my other woman friend because I want my pussy eaten like shrimp fried rice. Obviously. I mean, duh. And right away, you jump into this fucking crystal. You get deep into crystal. I mean, just like they did in fucking Breaking Bad. And you end up in the sewers. And that is like a normal crystal meth binge, I guess. Is you jump into some crystal and you end up in the sewers begging for blowjobs to get your money for crack. No, really though, you end up in like Bloodborne land. And that's kind of why I use Bloodborne as like the music for this video. If you're trying to figure out where you've heard this before, Just wonder no longer, my sweet friend, because I have told you that, because that's exactly what I just did. But this first area is straight up cool and Bloodborne feeling, and you're killing elves. These people are elves, which is kind of goofy because elves are usually Indians, like indigenous people. God, that makes me want to hurl when people say that. I'm Cherokee, baby, and I still call us Indians. But I see this area, and it's usually elves are like Indians, or they're like the rich white people. That's all elves always are, except for in this game where they're poor British people some of the times, and then they're the rich white people the other percentage of the time. It's great. I mean, I feel like I'm about to meet the elf version of Jack the Ripper, and some of these enemy designs straight up look like that, and it slaps clit. It slaps clit. And that is my first time saying slaps clit in this video, so that means you need to hit the subscribe button and comment and like, baby, because that is what we're doing. But yeah, you get in, and I picked medic right here, because before this, like I said, I picked a class, and you don't want to see, maybe I didn't say it, you pick a class before this whole shit goes down, and I didn't put that in the video because it's boring. You want to see me shoot shit in the penis. And so I picked this class because, one, I played this game by myself, and I'm not the greatest video game player. I think we all know that. It says it in my bio. I don't play games that well. Don't take me seriously. That's what it says. But enjoy my shit. I'm here for the entertainment value. But any hoozle doozle, the reason I picked a medic is, one, I can heal myself, which is really convenient when I'm not playing with friends. Two, I started off with an LMG. Call me Rambo, baby, except for the chick version with nice tits. Yeah, that's what I am. In this whole world that you start in, like you start in the sewers, then you're on the streets looking for Jack the Ripper, just getting chased down, and then you get into this first boss fight, which kind of sucked. I'm not gonna lie. The like tutorial boss fight, awesome, was amazing, super fun, kept me on my toes. This boss fight, you just dodge bombs and shoot them every once in a while. It's fucking lame. It's really lame. I don't know. Maybe some other people ran into a different boss encounter, because I know this game has some procedural generation, and I don't know how deep that shit goes, which is funny, because nobody threw a tantrum about this game having procedural generation, but some games they do. I don't understand when you're supposed to get mad for some of this shit. Some of this shit in the gaming community, they get mad over stupid shit. They're like, I hear procedural generation and get mad. Well, Remnant 2 has great procedural generation, so shove it up your dick hole, or your clit hole. I don't know, you don't have a hole in your clit. It's like the urethra. Shove it up your urethra. But yeah, this whole first boss fight, lame, boring. You just kind of dodge bombs and then shoot every once in a while. Kind of cringe. And right after this, you find out where all these kids you've been seeing this whole time. And if I didn't mention that, yeah, the whole time you're running around the city, you're seeing children. And you're like, where are these children going? Maybe I should follow one. And I followed one, and I get to this lady, and she's like, thank you for helping me find my lost children. They are all orphans. And I'm like, fucking me save orphans? Damn it. I wanted the orphans to die. I'm just kidding. I'm not a monster. Please save me from my intrusive thoughts. But enough about orphans being sad and without parents. This lady ends up telling you that there's this creature out there who, like, sucks hearts out of people's chests. And she's too powerful for it to suck, but she's also old, so she's just kind of chilling in her zone where none of these fucking psychopaths go after her. Which, honestly, good idea. It's just like when you're sick of the government, go buy land out in the middle of nowhere and just live like the Amish. I like the idea set. And this is where the game starts getting a little goofy, because you start like looking for this heart, because I was like, oh, so, well, I mean, I didn't know it was a heart yet, but I did know that there was something creepy going on. So I go to this mental institution, and there's like all these creepy nurses around, which, cool, I'm there. I like creepy nurses. I also like nurses that are hot, so any type of nurse, I'm down. Don't hit me up in my DMs, though, because I'm married. Get your own man. And this is kind of a tangent because it's kind of a side quest, but if you play this game, go down into the basement, because you have to go there anyway for the quest, because it like takes you to other dimensions. And like I did take a little like bounce out. I went back to the homeworld to level up here, and you're gonna meet this like cool little monster guy I saw, so this is perfect for a while I tell this story. But you find the head nurse is locked up because she's crazy as well, and she kind of locked herself up, but she lost her statues because she was carving the perfect being or whatever it fucking is. And so if you find these statues, you get a really cool song out of it. It's not like a big story beat or anything. It's just something cool that I thought, and I mean, I didn't have any footage of it because the whole time you're just talking to a door, so I thought I'd show you the cool little fucking vendor guy with his horns and shit while I told this story, because he is kind of adorable. He's like a goat and stuff, and not in a creepy furry way. But right away after that, you get out of the mental hospital and you're looking for like where to proceed, because most of these Souls games are just trying to figure out where to proceed. I did did find one of these styles of boss fights where they take a regular enemy, paint them red, and make them tougher to kill. Now, these are hit or miss for me. You run into a few of them throughout the game. Sometimes they're annoying as shit. Sometimes they're really fun. This one was really fun, but it depends on the enemy style to begin with on how this boss fight is going to go about. And it's like I said, sometimes in the game, like this one was fun. Other times you're like, I hated this enemy before. I don't want to fight them tougher. It's not my fucking vibe. I don't want to join this gangbang. It's just too many dicks. You know what I mean? Like, maybe if it was the other way around and there was plenty of clits and only one dick and that dick was me, I'd enjoy it. But not in this situation. But like I said, this one was fun. I wanted to highlight it. It was something I found was neat. And the way that this boss fight starts is really like he busts out of a barn. And I'm like, what are you doing in there? What was your plan? Were you just in there jerking off? Were you dating one of the nurses and so you went into the barn to jerk off? Every once in a while, though, you do kind of progress out of this shitty England area, and you end up, like, meeting cool characters. Like, I met this giant bitch. Like, she was so big, I could have, like, made a home inside of a vagina. Like, put up some lights, built in a fireplace, got a recliner, set up my Xbox, my PlayStation, and played off of the walls, waiting for her eggs to drop. That's how, like, big she was. And she basically told me that the main leader of all the elves and all the universes here was like a real like based giga chat of a person, and then just went off the deep end. It became evil and darkness spread across, and we need to stop them. And also that there's this like there's like this evil chick that like steals hearts, and I'm like, that's goofy. I mean, you've stolen my heart because of your vagina size, but I'll go stop the chick that's stealing hearts. How about that? I can do that. And so I progressed further into this world, and this is where things get kind of edgy. This went from like Bloodborne to edgy Bloodborne because fire's everywhere, and that's pretty lit. Ha! Lit, get it? Like fire. Laugh, you monkeys. Play your symbols. I'm just kidding. Love me. Subscribe to me, goddammit. But yeah, you get in this area, and this game like ramps up quick in this area. I hadn't been like upgrading my weapons. I was just kind of like mollywopping everything and like using my skills that I learned in the mountains like Batman to progress me through this area. And this is where I would actually went back to the homeland again and like really tried to upgrade my shit so that I had fire bullets, like made sure my fire bullets were like actually doing damage because my gun was actually powerful. I had to make sure because they throw a lot of crazy ass monsters at you in this area. There's like big guys and all sorts of shit. And as you progress through this, you go and check out like the upper realms where like you meet the council of like these guys that were actually originally like harboring for the king who had died. And you have to figure out which one of these people killed the king to like help progress this darkness of the area. It's all sorts of stupid political shit. You end up figuring out which one is which, and they get murked by the other two, which was kind of a fun side quest, but at the same time for me it was also kind of cringe. I don't know, you hear a lot of lore dumps here. It's like a lot of politics. It's like watching a presidential debate, but not like the cool ones where like people are yelling at each other, but like the boring ones where they're like, well, geopolitical this, and then like taxes that, and like school district that, and you're like, shut up, I don't care. I just want to go back to enjoying my life. I'm gonna vote the same way I always do. You guys are stupid, and I wish that you would all just burn. Not that I'm saying we should burn politicians, but they suck. I hate them. They're annoying. And so listening to these three idiots garbly gook about politics, ugh. But I did like fighting all the enemies around them. All these like elf enemies with wings and stuff. Cool. This shit was awesome. And there's even this little area where I played like elf chess against something that every time I lost, I got poisoned. I actually beat it on the first try, and I wanted to see if I could get anything more out of this statue playing chess. You don't. So once you beat the guy in chess, if you ever find him, you beat him once, you're done. Don't do anything else. Grab the bow and move on. But yeah, this whole area was like the dungeons you'd been seeing before mixed with like high Teuton society hallways and crap. And I liked this. I liked that it had this back and forth between the two art designs. And this is probably where some the other type of retrospective guy, not me, because I'm cool and way base and I don't want to fucking be lame, would tell you how it bleeds into the story. And like Elden Ring before it had showed that you can go from darkness to light. And I don't care about that bullshit. I'm not reading between the lines. I'm here to have fun. I'm here to entertain you without showing you my nipples, because they're weird, and one's like 8 foot long and the other's like 2 inches like in diameter. I don't know how to describe my nipples, but they're terrifying. They're kind of like some of the parts of this game. But I did find this little cute moment where I'd found this sash early on. I don't know what this did for me. I don't know if there was anything more to this, but I did put this little thing around their arms, and it was cute. I was like, these two elves holding hands, deeply in love, and then I tied the little ribbon around their hands like marriage. I thought that was kind of cute. I thought it was adorable. No sex jokes about it, just a wholesome moment in a very dark game, and I enjoyed that. It was something that I really... like, it made me stop and think and not be a douchebag. And then I got to this boss fight. And I'm not going to show you any more of this boss fight because a lot of it was fun and I want you to experience it. But this part right here where it just sticks you in this zone of fire, and if you get into the fire, you die instantly and you have to fight him close quarters. This is not a close quarters game. I mean, it is, you can dodge and stuff around things and make it a close quarter game, but not this close quarters. This kind of sucked. It was terrible. He was a red elf guy that was all pissed off because I didn't get him enough coins. He can shove his coins into his coin pouch, which is his butthole. And I think this part actually kind of hampered this weird boss fight that I had, and the reason I'm highlighting it is because I felt like a lot of boss fights in this game, as great as they were in some moments, had moments like this that were just irritating for no fucking reason, and had bullshit that could kill you instantly, and you couldn't really play the boss fight the way you wanted to. It would like corner you into these situations where you had to play the game the way it wanted you to play it, which is bullshit. The Souls games, other than Sekiro, kind of give you that freedom, and for the most part, this game lets you believe you have that freedom. So that boss fight early on made me think, okay, I hope not all boss fights are like this, because the other 2/3 of the boss fight was like actually like you'd keep your distance, you were dodging its aerial attacks and its AoE attacks, and then all of a sudden it pulls you to where you can only fight it in this little ring. And I kind of was worried all the boss fights were going to be like that in the game, but for the most part, no, they're not. Most boss fights are like this last boss fight of this section of the game, because this game is broken up into different like hub areas, like open world areas. Most boss fights are like this one, where I walk into this graveyard and it's got this cool atmosphere, and I'm like, all right, we're pumping some lead, we're pumping some fun. This is where I'm liking. I'm loving the atmosphere, the dark. I got the fog creeping into my panties. Let's go. I'm vibing, and you got this creepy monster floating around you. Like, I'm gonna touch your taint. Well, you won't like it if I touch your taint. And then I'm going to suck your heart out, just like I've sucked so many out before. Because I'm like the Sasha Grey of sucking hearts. If you don't know who Sasha Grey is, she's a porn star that was known for gangbang. She was also in the TV show Entourage. But right away, this boss fight gets going. And I love some of these boss fights, especially when it came to this one. And this was a great first boss fight, because technically this is the first main boss of the game. And this game really jumps you in it. And like when I was saying the thing about Bloodborne earlier, this boss is very Bloodborne reminiscent, especially you're in a graveyard. You got a really aggressive enemy that you have to figure out their moveset, or they're going to stomp your fucking taint in. And then like this one has a different style second phase, which this is one of the few boss fights with multiple phases in this game. Most of them are one and dones, right? This one felt like it was a necessary second phase. That was important, because most of these boss fights work on the fact that they're like, okay, well, this one seems like it only needs to be one phase, and most of the time it works for this game. This one, I felt like I wanted more of the fight, so when the second phase started and she's crawling around and teleporting through walls, I'm like, hell yeah, we're creating holes in walls. That's the way Mama taught me to do. And I liked this. I really enjoyed this fight. It wasn't as good as the first Bloodborne fight where the dude turns into the werewolf. That was just peak. This is good though. This is up there with the Soul style boss. I really felt like I was constantly like evolving to the boss fight, and I appreciate that. That's how I know the game is good, how I know that I'm going to keep playing it. And right after this, you get sent to the like a whole nother realm, right? You get sent to this like labyrinth. It's like a maze. Exactly what a labyrinth is. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Just leave me alone. I'm trying my best. But this labyrinth area, peak. I loved this area. You fight like rock golems and stuff. You walk through portals a bunch. I don't know. I really like this. I like the little puzzle solving aspect of it. I thought it was very atmospheric. And it didn't feel like a very jarring shift, and it is. If you look back on it, this is a huge jump from being in a Bloodborne-style game to being in like this forgotten realm of a labyrinth. It's something I really wanted to highlight in this game, that this game never outstays its welcome with its different zones. Yeah, the first section is very reminiscent of Bloodborne, which is perfect because we haven't had a Bloodborne 2. Come on, FromSoft, what are you doing? But they knew that there was that hole, but then they were like, yeah, we're not just ripping off Bloodborne with better guns. We are actually our own thing. And I appreciate that design choice, but if you're a keen eye, you'll notice that I had a new gun, and this gun is so sick. You see, if you beat that, the main boss for the first area, and you don't shoot her weak spot, which I was using an LMG, so hitting her weak spot was just a dream. So I got this gun that literally had fingers sticking out of it. And my character's a woman. Obviously, she wants as many fingers on deck as she possibly can have to really play with that clip. Because she's not just slapping it, she's fingering it. And I love this gun. This is the best gun in the game. I tried a bunch of different ones. I love it. It has this cool mechanic to where you use your... every gun you can add mods to, even the ones that don't have built-in ones. But the ones that have built-in ones usually have like really cool shit going on, like this one, where you become a ghost and your single-shot rifle becomes a fucking full automatic kill machine. And I ran the whole game with this thing. And that you just saw the first... falling rock area. Every FromSoft game, every Souls-like has one where you go through a portal and you fall through the floor. And this game got me good. Usually, I can see it coming because I have that, like, I'm playing 4D chess when y'all are playing Chutes and Ladders, baby. And so I usually see it coming, but this one got me. Even though it kind of has the crack in the ground, which seems like I would be better and smarter than it, but it got my dumb ass. Another thing I forgot to mention, and the only reason I'm mentioning it now is because you've seen it so many times, are the bonfires in this game are the giant crystals. And I think that's cool. It differentiates itself enough from FromSoft, but still feels like home, you know? It feels comfy cozy, like burying your head into a nice pair of tits. But one thing that wasn't comfy cozy was one of the boss fights in this area, and I think it's like one of the main boss fights in this area. You just shoot cubes and try not to get crushed. That's the whole boss fight. It doesn't even feel like a boss fight. It feels like I'm shooting fucking cubes. It's a puzzle that you have to solve, which is cool. I like puzzles. But to give it a health meter, I'm like, you could have just had the cubes be a thing and I shoot them and figure this out on my own and then progress through the area. You have to like go out of your way to kill all these cubes. And for me, it just kind of felt lame. I was like, I'm waiting a lot. You do a lot of waiting in this boss fight so that you can hit the spots that are in like tight corners. And you have to wait in a certain area so that when the cube lands on you, you fall in the area that you've shot so you don't get smushed to death and have to restart. It's kind of lame, and it sucks because like I like the rock enemy design in this area. I thought it was original. It felt like something I hadn't played before. And then I got to that boss fight and I'm like, really, man? It was like the grenade bitch from the beginning of the game. That bitch sucked. The blocks suck. It wasn't my favorite, and that it's starting to become a pattern in this game. There's some bosses that are just peak, but the lows in this game are so low. We're at the Mariana Trench. We're in fucking Lizzo's vagina. You have to like dive deep in there, and then it just keeps going. Not that this game's bad or anything, because I think this is one of my favorite experiences in a Souls-like. Now, does it compare to all the FromSoft games? Yeah, I think it's better than Dark Souls 1. And oh, I hear the booing in the comments now. Calm your bitch ass down. I didn't enjoy Dark Souls 1 because I wasn't there when it was peak. I got there way late when it looked crappy and it felt weird, and I'd already played Elden Ring and Dark Souls 3, and I was like, these are awesome. And then I played Bloodborne, and I went back to Dark Souls 1, and I'm like, what the shit is this? This game is janky as shit. They improved upon their mechanics, and they made something great. Anyway, I finally found the Asian chick. She's floating in the sky, and a giant eyeball looks at me, and I'm like, are you trying to check out my tits? Because I've been trying to see them this whole game, but they keep making me wear too much clothes. I know I'm a perv, but I'm trying to get better. Help me, God. Anyways, you find out that, like, She's in this area, and there's all sorts of shit going down. This guy runs what the labyrinth is like a world between worlds. I know we've heard that a million times. That's not that original, but the labyrinth was cool, so I'm giving it a pass. But you find out that all the worlds are in disarray, and you have to go save them all, like you're Thor in the fucking Marvel movies. And this Eye is like a sentient being. He's the Watcher. He's the end-all be-all guy, and he's sealed off the bad realm from all these other realms so that he can try to like rectify the situation. And you, being the badass gunslinger you are, which ends up being my secondary class because I grinded the shit out of this game because it's like a secret secondary class that you have to work really hard for and listen to an old man talk for 4 hours. And if you're able to listen to me talk for this video, you can do that. I have faith in you. But anyways, he gives you a key to progress to these other realms, to these 2 different doors. The first of which that I went through is like straight out of Aliens. This is some Ridley Scott-ass action, which I appreciate. This is what Scorn should have been instead of the shit game it became. I haven't played Scorn, it just looked terrible and not fun, and I don't want to waste my time on something that looks that shitty. But this game really, the whole time I was on this desolate planet, and the only gripe I had with it was the distance you had to go between zone to zone, because it was very barren. It felt like the movies, like Alien, or not Alien, but Prometheus. The Prometheus movies where there's the barren wastelands between the sculptures and stuff. That's how these areas feel, which I appreciated and also hated at the same time. But when I'm in these tight corridors, and it makes me feel like I'm straight in the movie Alien, or in Prometheus. I keep fucking those up because Ridley Scott had to make prequels and not call them prequels. But I feel like I finally get that art style, because like Alien Isolation seemed like a cool game, but I'm not big into survival horror, so this being able to go guns a-blazing against these monsters that feel like that art style is awesome. It's peak. I really liked all of the designs going into this area. It was a sudden change from the Labyrinth, which was bright and open, to a dark Alien style that the like blue tones to it really offset the red tones from like the Bloodborne area, so you feel like you're in a new zone and not just a different, like a shade, like it's not just like they put a blue shade on it and you're fighting the same enemies. No, we get new enemies, new designs, new area, new exploration, and I love it. I loved this desolate planet, even though it felt a little bit too desolate at times. And the enemy design, where you're going from robots to like the alien type creatures that are like creepy crawly bugs, I thought it all melded together so cool. Every once in a while you even fight these like phantoms, which I thought were insane. There was a boss fight against those, and you ride like an alien style casket down into the boss fight. I didn't end up getting any footage of that. I don't know what. I thought I'd saved it, but I accidentally just hit screenshot on my Xbox, so it was just 2 screenshots. I had one of me going down in the escalator and then one in the boss fight, and I was like, damn. So instead, I have me fighting one of the phantoms and getting killed by it, because you deserve to see a glorious death where I get my ass kicked because of how much of a nincompoop I am. Look at me die. I had my soul ripped out of my butthole. You're welcome. You gotta see a great death screen. Oh, thank you, Jeffrey. You're so great. I know. But anyways, you get to this guy who's like, looks like one of the supreme beings from Prometheus, and he basically tells you that he needs to get back control of the ship so that he can maybe fly away and save everything and go through a warp hole or whatever. And you're like, yeah, cool, man, I can help you out with that. And I end up getting to one of the first like big boss fights of this area, and it's just a blue version of the bugs you'd already been fighting that crawls into the flying monsters. This is, again, one of those cringe-ass boss fights because, one, it's not that cool of a design, right? I wasn't vibing with the fact that it's the same enemy I've already been fighting, just blue, and it can crawl into shit. 2, it's just shoot shoot it out of the monster type shit, and then it jumps out and attacks you, and then you go back and rinse and repeat. It feels falsely stretched out. It goes on way longer than it should have. It wasn't that it was hard because I beat it the first time I tried it. It just was drawn the fuck out, and I didn't enjoy it. It was tedious, annoying, and it wasn't fun. I like the boss fights when they're more action packed, right? And that's something, like I said, that this game either is really great or really bad with. And this is one of the really bad ones. This one's right around the cube boss. I think the cube boss fight is actually better than this shit. I was not a fan of this. It was like cool. It was cinematic. I liked the way the bug crawled into the thing. But once you actually get to the nuts and bolts and screws and dicks of this boss fight, It really is not more than what meets the eye, and that's disappointing to me. On the opposite end of the spectrum, though, there is a mission. It's a little side quest that you can find where you go into this little terminal area, and you go into this area, and it's like you have to clear all enemies before we fucking gas the place. And that was fun, dude. You have like tons of enemies like smashing their asses to get to you. They are straight up prison pounding. Someone dropped the soap and they are going in deep, broom handles and all, and it was sick. I enjoyed this. I mean, I got to use all my mechanics, all of my intuition to really like push through this boss fight, or not boss fight, but like this enemy encounter, and I loved it. I loved the fact that I was like on the edge of my seat. I had myself cornered at one point, and I was truly afraid, but I prevailed through it, and it was just a cool experience. I enjoyed this, and it was stuff like this in this area, and it's like this throughout the game where everything that I thought was middling had something to make up for it in the end, something that would be so cool and so awesome that the parts that I was kind of middling on were never bad. It was just not as good as the rest of the game. And when you get to the end of this area, you get one of the sickest bosses encounters of all time. Now, I didn't do every boss you can do different ways. You can fight him different ways. I just did the basic ass one for a few of these because like I wanted to get this review out and then continue pushing out content for you guys because I'm like a little like a sweatshop worker. But this boss fight was insane. It was big. It was cool. You actually like fight its hands that come out of the ground at sometimes, and it's cool. I like big bosses like this where they're like 14 times your size. It's like old God of War style. In this game, it really gets an advantage from having guns compared to the Souls games, because when you fight big, colossal monsters in the Souls games, it feels like you're always trying to keep up. In this game, you feel like you're fighting one for one with these bosses, which is something I haven't felt since the old God of War days. And it's something that I really appreciated with this, and when they utilized that, it was awesome. Because of the fact that you're using guns, you really are able to feel like you can conquer these boss fights and feel like you're having an impact more than you do just running up and hitting it with a sword at its feet. So I really appreciated this design. I appreciated like every part of anytime a big boss was on screen, I was fucking jonesing, dude. My weird shaped nipples were hard. My below average dick was pointing straight up. I'm not a shower, I'm a grower, baby. And this boss fight made me know that like to tenfold. But after this, you go to a new area. You go to the next, or through the next door that was unlocked during the labyrinth area. And this is probably my least favorite zone in the game. Now, let me explain. Most of the boss encounters in this are like shoot the little like infected area. I mean, this is one example, but I know there's like 3. A lot of it's just kind of shoot the thing and enemies spawn in. And that's not great boss design. I feel like this is one of the areas that when I went to a new section, the atmosphere didn't grab me as much as the others, and it started to feel real cycled. And this is where I can see that the procedural generation really failed this game in this area, because in the other areas I felt like the diversity of content that I was getting was fantastic, and when I did see similar stuff, it was because it was to match the atmosphere. Here it just felt like I was running through the same areas over and over and over again, and I got very tired of it. And once you run through these areas that you've seen a million times, then you progress to the areas where you parkour over broken like rocks and old shrines and shit. Because this area really wants to emphasize that there is platforming in this game, and a lot of it misses and some of it hits, but for the most part, it's just like, I don't know, the platforming got a little tedious. I think it might have been, like I said before, the fact that I've seen these environments so many times throughout this area that I just got sick of it. And even though some of the platforming puzzles were kind of cool and there was tightrope sections, at a certain point I just didn't care anymore because of the recycled lands. But on the flip side of this also had 2 of my favorite boss fights in the game. The first of which is this big colossal guy, which was very similar to the end boss of the Ridley Scott era, but this one he's knocking platforms out beneath you, so you have to constantly keep rotating around him so that you can stay ahead of him from breaking the ground. He's not like an incredibly hard boss fight, but I thought it was very cinematic. It was very mobile. It was it really kept you on your toes, and like I said, this game really shines when it's massive boss boss fights against you, not just because they're an easy target to shoot, but because it's a game that can actually utilize the size of the monster and the scope, and you can actually control your environment around it, and I like the way they did that. Not to mention that also it was refreshing in this area compared to other areas. Like I said, with a majority of the boss fights in this section, they throw just a ton of enemies at you. In the big boss fights, they only throw a couple at you just so you can kill them for health or ammo. And not health, for ammo. You can kill them for ammo and get this thing. Another highlight area is you meet this chick that comes out of a tree that was like really, really cinematic, gorgeous. It was kind of the highlight of this whole area in terms of not scope, but ambiance and beauty. It was just something that will always be stuck in my mind, was this pretty chick that just showed up out of a tree and then asked you a bunch of questions. Like it was questions along the line of, if you had 5 people on one side of the tracks and 1 person on the other, what would you do? And at the end you get like a perk card that you can add perks to. It wasn't that big of a thing, but the sheer scope and beauty of it was nice. The last boss fight of this area, though, was dope. This is the second of the 2 boss fights that I absolutely loved in this area. There was one that was decently okay with an archer that I didn't get footage of because it wasn't good enough for me to highlight. I just felt like it was just one of the regular archer enemies, but in a boss fight. But this giant dog fight, you have the choice to fight a doe or a dog here, and it's one of the few times this game like says, hey, here's a choice, who do you want to fight? And I decided to fight the wolf. I don't know if you can actually fight the doe, but I fought this wolf, and this boss fight was so sick. It keeps you on your toes because it's an incredibly aggressive boss, and it likes to close the distance between you guys. So what you do is you gotta, like, when it tries to close the distance, you like dodge through it, get away, shoot it while it's far away, dodge its distance attack, and then rinse and repeat. And then it has this giant area of attack. It was cool. Once you get done with this, you have enough shards to have a key to the area he locked away to get into the last zone, to finally encounter the end of this game. And you get the last. This was very cinematic. In a style of game that usually isn't cinematic, like Souls games aren't. They have their moments, but for the most part, they don't have these dialogue sections in these big long cutscenes. I appreciated this cutscene. I appreciated the characters. I thought they were interesting. I really liked this thing. I mean, the eyeball guy, the eyeball was now an actual dude who's wearing like a mask now for some reason where you can't see his eyes, which I thought was kind of funny. But yeah, no, it was refreshing that this game had a bit of a story that you could follow without having to like resort to YouTube videos. And the character development was really refreshing to see in this style of gameplay. But right away, when you get into the new section, you're into like a really sick boss fight. This boss fight was so much fun. I'm not the biggest fan of this last area. It was just kind of like Broken City stuff. I mean, it was cool. It was atmospheric. But at this point of the game, I was just like ready to fuck up whatever the thing that caused this world to be this way. And right away, this thing comes at you, and I loved this. It was aggressive when it had to be. It was fun to fight. I enjoyed this whole section. There was another boss after this one, between this and the last boss, that I didn't even get footage of because I hated it. And it was just, there's these like flying knight things that soar around and are dicks throughout this entire area. And then you fight one that's just supercharged and is a boss. And I've already told you how I feel about normal enemy supercharged bosses. I think they're lame. I think they're lazy. And the boss's name is Venom. It felt kind of lazy. This guy felt original, felt cool. It was like an evolution of bosses that were similar to it in the past, and enemies that are similar to it. It like evolved. It was, I don't know, it was a refreshing boss fight. I liked it. But this whole area goes back to like the demon dogs you were fighting at the beginning of the game. It came full circle, and it had some really cool stuff on top of it. Like, one of the main things I remember was going through this tunnel, right? I just was like slowly creeping through here, and it was like, I was like, all right, what am I going to run into? This is obviously a scary tunnel is going to be a dick to me. And then all of a sudden something's stomping the ground, and there's these giant things with eyeballs. And they're kind of suck to fight because they're just kind of bullet sponges. But man, were they cool. Talk about atmospheric shit. Talk about the stuff that people will make hour-long reviews about. These guys were cool looking. This is straight out of War of the Worlds. I'll show you right here. They are cool as shit. Suck to fight, but definitely a great enemy design. Peak. I liked it. It really, this whole area had some like really cool stuff, but it really felt like it took all everything in the kitchen sink and just ramped up the difficulty, which I'm fine with. I understand it's the end of the game, but once you finally get to the end section, your Asian BFF starts using her superpowers to take down this giant boss door, and you're like, whoa, you have explosion powers. But obviously, she's used all her powers, so she's not going to be any help in the boss fight. I don't know what the glowy dude is. He's just kind of like, good luck, Chief, have fun. And I'm like, bro, aren't you supposed to be like the watcher, the like protector of all the lands, and you're just not going to help me? What a douche move. I mean, he just stands there. I mean, he's funny. He's got some jokes. It's like some Marvel-esque humor, but like, you're useless. You have no point other than you opened a door once. That kind of sucks, and then you just kind of are stupid. I don't know. I it's not that I wanted him to join the fight with me. It just felt weird that he didn't, especially when he's like crunching the numbers on how we succeed, and there's a good chance we won't win. And then we get to the last boss fight, and I hate this fight. It's not bad mechanically. I enjoy the fight when it came down to the movement of it, the design of it, the design of how the boss looks. I don't mind its AoE attacks and stuff like that. What I hate is the flashing lights. Now, it doesn't look that bad in the first stage, and I was like hyped as hell when I was fighting this first stage. I was like tearing him up, and I was having a good time doing it. I died the first time, and I ran back in right away because I wanted to get back into this so fast. And when I finally figured out all of his moves where I'm dodging and I'm being a badass and I'm having fun, and I break into the second zone of this boss fight, is where it becomes shit for me. Now, I don't get like epileptic seizures or anything, and if you do, this is where you need to click off of the video, because this boss fight is absolute flashing lights AIDS. This is where I don't like this boss. There's so much going on screen that it gave me a headache. Every time I try to fight this boss and I get almost through the second phase, I have to stop playing the game for 30 minutes just so that I can go back in, so that I can calm my headache down, drink some water, listen to some YouTube videos, not watch it because my eyes hurt. It's just not fun for me. I don't like all the lights going on. I like what they're trying to go for, but it's chlamydia on the eyeballs, right? It's straight up AIDS in the retinas. I do not enjoy this, and every time I would get to the second phase, I just wanted to be done. It hurts. I mean, even watching this footage back, trying to make this video for it, my eyes are already hurting. It's just too much red flashing lights, and it's even worse on a big screen when you're trying to play the game and trying to take this thing serious. I mean, look at all of the shit going on right now. Like, why? I mean, I die right here because I didn't shoot those orbs out of the sky, but I forgot I was supposed to shoot the orbs because my eyes were fucking bleeding. But one thing that is fun is going back, even after that section, it's like going back to the early portions of the game and just smoking shit. Before you finish the boss fight, go back to the Bloodborne area and just show them how you're God. It's so much fun. I mean, I just went back to roll through these corpses again because I thought it was a great time. But at the end of the day, guys, Remnant 2 is an absolute must-play, even if I wasn't the biggest fan of the end boss fight. And some of the boss fights I thought were pretty mid. The overall game is a solid 9 out of 10. It's not a 10 out of 10 because I'm deducting it for some bad boss design. But overall gameplay and overall aesthetic, absolute masterpiece. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.